Chapter 5, Understanding Project Feasibility. In this chapter, we are going to talk about something that can save property owners an incredible amount of stress, wasted time, and expensive disappointment. Feasibility. This is one of the most overlooked parts of the entire pre-construction process because most people move from excitement straight into planning without fully stopping to ask, can this project realistically work? Not just emotionally, creatively, or financially, but realistically. Can the property support it? Can the budget support it? Can the city support it? Can the timeline support it? Can your life support it? Those questions matter. Because I have seen owners spend months and sometimes years emotionally attached to projects that were never fully feasible in the first place. And the earlier you discover limitations, the more intelligently you can adjust the project before expensive commitments are made. What feasibility actually means. A lot of people think feasibility only means, is this legally allowed? But feasibility is much broader than that. Feasibility is really about understanding whether the project works across all major categories that affect construction. That includes legal feasibility, physical feasibility, financial feasibility, practical feasibility, and strategic feasibility. Project can fail in any one of these categories. You might have a project that is legally allowed, but financially unrealistic, or financially possible, but physically difficult on the property, or technically possible, but impractical for your lifestyle, timeline, or goals. That is why feasibility needs to be looked at holistically. Legal feasibility. Let's start with legal feasibility. This is the part most owners think about first. Can I legally build this? And depending on the project, that answer may involve zoning, setbacks, lot coverage, height restrictions, parking requirements, HOA rules, historic district requirements, fire requirements, utility requirements, environmental regulations, or local city interpretations. Now, one big thing I want owners to understand is this. Just because someone else built something nearby does not automatically mean your property can do the same thing. Every property is different. Even neighboring lots can have different limitations. That is why assumptions become dangerous. And honestly, this is where a lot of owners lose time and money. They begin emotionally designing projects before confirming the property can actually support the vision legally. So one of the smartest things you can do early is verify what the property actually allows. Not what someone hopes it allows, not what social media says, what the property actually supports. Physical feasibility. Next comes physical feasibility. And this is where the actual property conditions start mattering. Because even if the city allows something, the site itself may create challenges. For example, maybe the lot has difficult access, maybe the slope creates grading issues, maybe utilities are too far away, maybe the existing structure has hidden problems, maybe drainage becomes complicated, maybe there are retaining walls, maybe the electrical system needs major upgrades, maybe the sewer connection becomes expensive, maybe the soil conditions require additional engineering. These are the kinds of things that dramatically affect costs and complexity. Many owners do not realize how much site conditions shape the project. They focus heavily on the design, but underestimate the infrastructure and property realties underneath it. Financial feasibility. This is where things become very real because a project being technically possible does not automatically make it financially wise. This is one of the hardest conversations for owners emotionally, especially when they become attached to a vision early. Financial feasibility means asking, can this project realistically work within my budget and financial goals? Not emotionally, actually. This includes construction costs, soft costs, permit costs, consultant fees, utility costs, financing costs, contingency, temporary living costs if applicable, and long-term financial impact. For investment projects, this becomes even more important. Does the projected rental income justify the investment? Does the resale value support the scope? Does the long-term value align with the amount being invested? because sometimes owners unintentionally overbuild relative to the property or neighborhood. And sometimes they underbudget significantly because they are working from rough assumptions instead of real project analysis. Practical feasibility. This is the category almost nobody thinks about enough. Practical feasibility, meaning how does this project actually affect real life? Because construction does not happen in a vacuum. If you are remodeling your home, can you realistically live there during construction? If you are adding square footage, how disruptive will the process become? If you are building an ADU, how will construction affect access, parking, privacy, neighbors, or utilities? If this is a commercial project, how will it affect operations, employees, or customers? I've seen projects become emotionally overwhelming simply because owners underestimated the practical disruption. Practical stress affects decision-making. When owners are exhausted, displaced, overwhelmed, or financially stretched, everything starts feeling heavier. So practical feasibility matters just as much as technical feasibility. Strategic feasibility. This is one of my favorite categories because it forces owners to think long-term. Strategic feasibility asks, does this project actually support the bigger goal? For example, maybe you technically can build a large addition, but should you? Maybe you can heavily customize a property, but does it make sense for long-term resale? Maybe you can maximize square footage, but does that align with your long-term lifestyle? Maybe you can spend significantly more, but does that investment really improve the property proportionally? Strategic thinking changes projects because now the owner stops thinking only about what is possible and starts thinking about what is wise. This is a completely different mindset. Feasibility should happen early. One of the biggest mistakes owners make is treating feasibility like a formality instead of a foundation. They assume everything will work out later. The earlier feasibility gets clarified, the healthier the project becomes, because feasibility affects your design, budget, scope, timeline, contractor conversation, financing, and overall expectations. The earlier the project becomes grounded in reality, the stronger the planning process becomes. This is one of the biggest reasons why projects feel calmer later, because fewer surprises are hiding underneath the surface. What owners get wrong about possible. This part is important. A project being possible does not automatically mean it's easy, or affordable, or practical, or strategically wise. And that distinction matters because sometimes owners hear, yes, technically it can be done, and emotionally interpret this as, great, this should work out perfectly. But construction has layers, and the deeper you go into feasibility, the clearer the true complexity becomes. That is not a negative, that is protective, because understanding complexity early is far less painful than discovering it halfway through construction. Because understanding complexity early is far less painful than discovering it halfway through construction. Good feasibility creates confidence. One thing I have noticed is that projects feel much calmer when feasibility has been properly explored, because now the owner understands what the property supports, what risks exist, what budget realties exist, what constraints exist, and what opportunities exist. That clarity creates confidence, not false confidence, informed confidence. And informed confidence changes the emotional experience of the project because uncertainty creates anxiety, but clarity creates stability. Final thought. The one thing I want you to remember from this chapter is just because a project sounds exciting does not automatically mean it is fully feasible yet. And that's okay. The purpose of feasibility is not to kill projects. It's to strengthen them. The earlier you understand the legal, physical, financial, practical, and strategic realities of the project, the better decisions you can make moving forward. Before you commit emotionally and financially, make sure the project actually works in the real world. That is what smarter planning looks like. Thank you for listening to Before You Build It. If you want additional project planning resources, feasibility guidance, or tools for your project, visit goeasyproject.com/beforeyoubuildit. And if you're preparing for an ADU, remodel, addition, rebuild, or major construction project, you can also schedule a complimentary project strategy session there.